Welcome everyone. This is Frank Demore with the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth, and today is July 19th, and I'm going to be covering some new news concerning the coming Psalm 83 war. Now again, as yesterday, I'm pointing out the significance between what is happening in Syria, and today there was another article that also mentioned some other people that are listed in the Psalm 83 war, which I'll be pointing out. And you'll see here we have Syria, number 10. They are one of the nations that will be attacking Israel, modern day Syria. And then we also see here in Tyre, which is today, that's where the Hezbollah are. So these are the two primary groups of people that I'm going to be talking about, although in this article you'll see that Jordan is also mentioned in the article, and I'll point it out when I get to the article. But for those of you who may be new to prophecy, this is one of the prophecies that haven't taken place yet, but it's developing, and it's developing rapidly. And I'll be explaining the significance of this report that just came out. Now, if you are new, please stay with me on this. I'll make it very easy for you. And if you've been coming to my YouTube channel for a while in my prophecy site, please bear with me just for a second. That the people who are new may not understand Bible prophecy will get the information they need to understand it fully. So getting down, we see in the prophecy, Psalm 83, and I'll let you read this yourself just for time's sake. It's very easy reading. But essentially what we see here is the Lord tells us that all these countries are going to come together. They're going to counsel themselves together. They're going to come up with a plan, and their plan will say, wipe out Israel. That they're not even going to be a nation anymore. And you'll see this, it says in verse 4, and they have said, come and let us cut them off from being the nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. And of course you'll see in verse 5 that they do come together as a confederate group of nations, all of them. So what I'm going to show you right now, that there's an article that I'm going to bring to you, and when you go to my website you'll be able to click this link and access the link. It is a long article, but it is well worth it, especially as if you know what to be looking for in the Psalm 83 war. So let me go to that link. I'll click the link, and we'll discuss what's going on. You'll see that this was from Israel. Today is July 19th. This is today's news. And remember what I just showed you. Hezbollah is in the group of people that are going to attack Israel. So this is where it becomes significant. And as you'll see here, it's talking about Syria, which I also pointed out a few minutes ago. It says Hezbollah is preparing a big surprise for Israel, Nasrallah says. In a speech to supporters, the Hezbollah leader, Hassan Nasrallah, reveals that Syria has armed its organization and other terrorist groups in Gaza with long-range missiles. Now, get this. Israel can be happy about suicide bombings in Damascus that killed the top Syrian defense officials. Nasrallah says world leaders warn Syrian crisis is rapidly spinning out of control, expressed concern over chemical weapons. Now, a few years back, in my posting, I warned the people this is what we should be looking for in Syria. And I did warn, you can go back and just do Google search, Frank Demore, chemical weapons, Syria. But I did warn that if they were to use, if Bashar al-Assad were to ever use chemical warfare against Israel, Israel would swoop down into Syria and destroy Damascus in a few minutes. They would just launch everything they had. And essentially this is one of the scenarios that we're looking for to happen that would bring on the Psalm 83 war. So it goes on to say that the Hezbollah, and keep in mind every time I say Hezbollah, just put it in the back of your mind, that God told us Hezbollah was going to try to annihilate Israel with another one of the nations, Syria. Now, as I said, there are several names that are mentioned in the Psalm 83, but I'm just going to point out the ones that are in the article. So the Hezbollah is preparing for a big surprise for Israel. The Shia Organization Secretary General Nasrallah, Hassan Nasrallah, said on Wednesday in a speech making the 6th anniversary of the Second Lebanon War. And for those of you who may not have been following the news, Israel had to go to war with Lebanon, I believe in 2006, because Israel was getting shelled from the PLO, the Hezbollah, the Hamas, and all the different factions. And so finally, after a barrage of rockets and missiles, Israel went in and attacked those people to stop the missiles from coming over. And this is what this article is in reference to. Goes on to say that during the speech delivered via video feed to the crowd of Nasrallah supporters in Beirut, Nasrallah proudly revealed that Syria, get this, Syria, remember, is in that list. Syria had been arming Hezbollah, Israel's enemies. That's who it is. So you have enemy of Syria, or the enemy of Israel, Syria, and you have the enemy of the Hezbollah against also Israel. Two of them. So Syria is arming Hezbollah as well as groups in the Gaza Strip. Now when you go back, if you will, let me just go right back to my site. You'll see this. We'll take a look here, and you'll see right here, you'll see that number 8 is the Philistina, which are the modern day Hamas in the Gaza Strip, but the Palestinians. And so that is also significant in this article. I needed to point that out because, again, now you have a fourth group that is mentioned in the Psalm 83. So the groups in the Gaza Strip with long-range missiles capable of reaching all of central Israel, including Tel Aviv. So it's getting pretty hairy there when you find out that Syria, who is definitely the enemy of Israel, has been arming the enemies of Israel. And I've been warning about this for years, and it seems like now, because of what's taking place in Syria, that this news is coming out at a more rapid pace. Now, Syria is a big problem for the Americans and the Israelis because Syria is the real supporter for the resistance, and especially at the military level. Hezbollah-affiliated Al Manar television quoted Nasrallah as saying Syria was not only a passageway for the resistance, but also a real military supporter for the resistance. In other words, resistance against Israel. And that's essentially what God told us what was going to happen in the last days. For example, the most important missiles that fell on Haifa and central Israel during the Second Lebanon War were Syrian-made missiles. And if you were with me back then, I reported about all the things that were going on, including these Syrian missiles. The Hezbollah leader also said that the Syrian weapons were being used by Gaza terrorists against Israel. So there you go. You have the direct correlation of the Gaza terrorists that were going against Israel. They're the Palestinians, and some of them are Hezbollah, some of them are even the Fatah, different sections, groups of the Palestinian organizations. Now, the most important weapons we fought during the July war were from Syria, not only Lebanon. There you go, Lebanon is another one of those nations, obviously, in the Psalm 83 war, but also in the Gaza Strip. The missiles delivered to Gaza managed to force more than 1 million settlers to stay in bunkers and frighten Tel Aviv. When the Arab regimes were barring bread and money from entering Gaza, Syria was sending weapons along with the food to Gaza. Now, we know that the enemy is working night and day to gather information about the rocket launchers, and I call on them to draw conclusions from their mistakes. We know what your Israel first strike will be, and we promise you, and here we go, listen to this. All right, we promise you a big surprise. And of course, I want the Lebanese people and all the people to be very confident in the resistance capabilities and to know that in this region we have the heart and the will to organize, manage, fight, and eventually win, Nasrallah said. So right here, right here, just in this one little paragraph, you almost have exactly what is prophesied to take place in Psalm 83. Now, the big surprise is going to be obviously backfired, because when you read Psalm 83, you'll find out that Israel is going to win that war, and that will definitely be a big surprise, not only to the enemies like the Lebanese and the Syrians and the Palestinians and the Jordanians and everybody else listed, but is going to be a big surprise to the rest of the world, thinking that all of these armies that come against Israel have been defeated by one small country. But it shouldn't come as a surprise by the Christians, because the Christians know beforehand what to expect, because it was written down for us in the Word, and it's just a matter of whether you believe the Lord, what He told us or not. And obviously I do. And obviously I'm praying that shortly a lot of other people will be falling down on their knees as well when they see that this main prophecy is fulfilled soon. It says, our fate is not defeat and failure like most Arab rulers claim. We will prevail. And they're thinking that they're going to what? They're thinking that they're going to destroy Israel. And of course, that's exactly what it is stated in Psalm 83. And just as we achieved the great victories in 2000 and 2006, we are capable of achieving a greater victory in any coming war. And this is the message of the July War. Nasrallah promised a big surprise in any future war with Israel. And so there is a lot going on in the Middle East, and just about every single day we're seeing the exact nations that are in that prophecy. Now, Damascus right now is at the spearhead of what's going on, and when you read the rest of the article, you'll see that it's a pretty long article, but it's pretty interesting, and it is definitely interesting when you know Psalm 83. But Damascus is the major situation, because it is spinning out of control, as you're going to read if you read the rest of the article. And there is that possibility, because they're talking about the transfer of chemical weapons and falling in the hands of Israel's enemies. Now, this is going to be a major issue if Syria is backed into the corner, just like I said yesterday, and Bashar al-Assad knows that he's going to lose control. He is capable of sending off those weapons, those missiles that are right on the border there, and now, according to this article, will be able to hit Tel Aviv. And just all it's going to take is one of those missiles to hit Israel, and if it is a chemical warhead, then it will be lights out. It's going to be lights out really, really quick. And I believe at that point, Psalm 83 will be fulfilled. So when you go and read the rest of the article, you'll see where they're talking about the civil war. And of course, civil war is mentioned in Matthew 24, 6 and 7. You'll see that nation will come against nation and kingdom against kingdom. That's exactly what they're going on. And the Lord tells us that there's rumors of war, all of which is taking place right now. And I talked about, as I said, the chemical weapons, and he also expressed concern over the Syria's chemical weapons stockpile. And they're afraid that if Assad loses control, these chemical stockpiles are going to end up, as you can see here, in unfriendly hands. Now, obviously, when you look at this article, and you go back and you look at who's involved, all of these nations are at odds with Israel. And it's going to only be a matter of time before the Psalm 83 war takes place. And any one of these events could launch that war, whether it's an attack by Syria, a chemical attack, whether outside forces attack Syria, and then the Syrian president attacks Israel, thinking that he can turn the tide of his Arab brothers to swing their attention on Israel. Whatever happens, just know this: it's going to happen soon, and it's right over the horizon. But the bottom line is this: even though they come with a confederate nations against Israel in the last days, Israel is still going to be standing, because God is not going to allow his people to be destroyed. Israel, the nation of Israel, because they rejected the Messiah, are going to have to go into the 7-year tribulation, just like anybody else who refuses Jesus Christ as their Savior. And God will be dealing with the Jews during the 7-year tribulation. But this war right here will signify exactly how close we are to that day coming where the Lord is going to rapture the church. And that is why I'm constantly giving you information about Psalm 83, because this just shows us the rapture is that much closer. God bless.